Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is the second film in a brand new Jurassic trilogy, and just about 2 months away from its release in US cinemas, we finally have a whole glimpse of the movie. We had been teased with glimpses of the action on the island and a Super Bowl trailer that was about 90 seconds, but both trailers had held back significantly on the plot, and now we finally have a proper glimpse, and boy is it something. So what was your impression of the new trailer, Jackson?
I have a very low expectation when it comes to most trailers. So basically every trailer I watch, I have to sort of lower my expectations and say like, oh, this is a trailer for a big budget studio movie, and this is a trailer for a big budget studio movie. But as far as those go, I thought it was pretty good. I'm definitely excited to see it.
Right, and as time has gone by, I think the first film has kind of been marginalized with people's impression of its creative merits. I think everyone has this golden standard of the original film that is trying to live up to, and while Jurassic World was fun and recaptured that, I think people have doubts as to whether the story or the narrative and the characters hold up over repeat viewing. So you have a second film that really needs to cement the validity of the kind of story they're trying to accomplish, the parable of how we treat animals and the relationship of Claire and Owen as it relates to the animals that they oversaw in Jurassic World. And in the case of Owen, he was a raptor trainer. In the case of Claire, she had a very harsh corporate paint-by-numbers view of how they interact with the animals when Jurassic World was a park. Now we're seeing her have to clear up her mistake. And it seems like she's in for a very tumultuous character ride, especially as it relates to InGen, who's just like in The Lost World, they're sending a military team to, quote, capture the dinosaurs with ulterior motives. So what did you think of what the characters have to deal with and what we're starting to see of their character arcs in this trailer?
Well, I mean, the trailer is primarily focused on the dinosaur drama, but I do think they're positing Claire to be the main character of this movie again, because I do think she was the protagonist of Jurassic World, and if they're going with the men behind the curtain are actually really evil and have got very bad intentions for all this, I could see that contributing a lot to her character. I mean, one of the more powerful shots or moments in the trailer is when she's on the beach and sort of like angrily throws the sand and like, oh my gosh, they lied to us. I don't remember what she said specifically.
It was all a lie. Yeah,
exactly. It was all a lie. It's just it feels like a powerful moment of change for a character who was very corporate oriented just one movie ago. So
right, and if we match up the footage of the gyrosphere flying off the cliff with an Owen trying to rescue her from the outside of the gyrosphere underwater, and then with them being on the beach, you can kind of string together the sequence of events. So at this point, Claire has had a near-death experience, and she thought, with Rafe Spall's character, she was being told that they could capture Blue and bring them back and have like a dinosaur sanctuary off the island to save these animals. And it's really, again, she's kind of being beaten at her own game because she was the corporate head and was exploiting Jurassic World and running as a business. And now she actually formed something called the Dinosaur Protection Group, which has been teased in a lot of the marketing materials for the film. And the DPG is kind of like a nonprofit that's an animal rights activist. So she's done a complete 180 from Jurassic World. And again, now she's going to kind of get a taste of her own medicine, I want to say, if that's not a little too harsh, with the betrayal of what seems to be InGen and Dr. Wu, who's continuing the more nefarious genetical engineering.
I think that's really smart. I mean, if there's anything I've gained from this trailer in terms of the narrative of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I think the movie is going to be very much about, okay, so if dinosaurs were something that we had to deal with in the year of our Lord 2018, how would we deal with them? What would that look like? Who would want to get their hands on them? Why would they want to get their hands on them? And I think this movie is going to deal more with those questions as opposed to the first Jurassic World movie, which was basically a proof of concept of the original Jurassic Park, just saying like, oh, what would a dinosaur theme park look like? Like, this is going to sort of bring it out into the real world. And I'm excited for that. I think that'll be really cool.
Right. It's interesting. Some people like to say, well, Jurassic World was kind of unrealistic. The fact that people had lost interest in it, and that we need to go bigger and better. But like if you look at what goes on around us in terms of consumer attention span, and the constant need to one up oneself in terms of product, like I don't think Jurassic World is as far fetched. I mean, it's not a perfect film, but that concept I think remains whole. So I want to ask you a bit about the new director and the new direction, because this looks insanely different than Jurassic World.
It looks incredible is what it looks like. It looks gorgeously shot. All the shots are well composed and have got a lot of wit to them. You know, not to say that Jurassic World didn't have any of those things. It just Jay Bayona, who's the director, previously did A Monster Calls and The Impossible and the Spanish horror film The Orphanage. And you can see a lot of his background in horror thriller films in some of the shots from this trailer, particularly the stuff with it's the Indoraptor, right? That's
right,
the name.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's that great shot at the end where it's sort of like climbing down the roof into the girl's window, and you've got the camera turning up, like right side up from upside down. You know, I mean, it feels very engineered by somebody who's been doing suspense films all their life.
And again, like, I think the creators and the filmmakers were very clear that Jurassic World is an action adventure movie. It was, you know, a lot of it takes place very brightly lit, broad daylight down Main Street of a theme park. Like, you don't have the same dark, suspenseful ambiance as you had in some of the earlier Jurassic films, and that was intentional. Like, I don't think that was a creative flaw, Jurassic World, but we need the story to evolve, right? We need something, we need the situation, the Pandora's box that was opened of Jurassic World to be explored, and the kind of haunting imagery, even in some of the lighter scenes in the trailer, like, you and I had talked a lot about The Force Awakens and how each shot was so intentional. Like, there's such a contrast of shadows and light and color that you can tell when a film kind of takes extra care to paint each shot like a painting. And that's a sense that I get from this. Like, I don't know. I think Jay Bayona used the same cinematographer for all his movies, but some of the stuff like the Mosasaurus jumping out at the helicopter or some of the shots of the Indoraptors during the auction at Lockwood Manor, or even some of the shots at the island are just like, I mean, they're gorgeous. They're some of my favorite shots that I've seen in recent big budget fare.
I love how you know the name of the house that they're at. I'm like, oh, it's at the mansion. You're like, oh no, this is Lockwood Manor with so and so and this and that. Yeah, no, I mean the Mosasaurus stuff in this trailer is certainly enough to get me to see the movie on its own. Like there is that shot where it comes up and eats the guy off of the helicopter, which is an obvious reference to that same shot with the shark from the first movie. And then, of course, there's that shot of it, you know, about to eat that surfer. And I'm just like, oh, it makes my skin crawl. It's exciting. I definitely think it teases the movie and makes me want to see what's going to happen when these dinosaurs sort of break out into the real world.
Right. I think Trevorrow and Bayona had discussed they really want to focus on some of the iconography of this movie, like those, especially the shot of like the Mosasaurus with the surfer. Like, it is basically unleashing our inner child to see dinosaurs start to unintentionally sneak back into the ecosystem. And you see, that's why it's called Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, this contained kingdom in Jurassic World, and now it's fallen and it's uncontained, and that's part of what Jeff Goldblum, you know, Ian Malcolm is saying during the congressional hearings. And like, I think as much as this is going to be a blockbuster, like, you know, we have those moments where Owen gives the thumbs up behind the T-Rex or makes a joke with Claire and being very much a Chris Pratt type. That's to be expected. Like, I think that's just happens in blockbuster movies. Like, it's a requisite for good blockbuster filmmaking, and, you know, to make billions of dollars, of course. But like, you have a real care to cultivate the themes that were, I would dare say, underexplored in Jurassic World. I mean, there seems like there's a real intention to go deeper, and I that kind of segues into my final thoughts, which is, what do you want? I mean, I think I've expressed what I want, but what do you want to see in Fallen Kingdom to have it be a worthy sequel?
You know what? It's very simple for me. I want to have fun. Like what I liked a lot about Jurassic World, despite its flaws, was that movie was just 2 hours of straight fun. And I think that's what drew a lot of people to the Jurassic Park franchise initially. It is the movies, the good movies at least operate very much like roller coasters, and honestly, I'm going to be satisfied if I've had fun. Like, that's really my only prerequisite for this movie. And I would be very, very shocked if I didn't, judging by the trailer. And I know I don't like to judge movies too much by trailers, but judging by the trailer, I would be very shocked if I didn't walk away from this movie with a smile on my face.
So you've seen all the Jurassic movies, and I think, while maybe you're not in Jurassic fandom as much as I am recently, because I've had the pleasure of following this movie very closely throughout its entire production cycle. What do you think of this direction as it compares to the rest of the franchise? Is this really as much of a sharp left turn into horror or suspense, or do you think it's going to still fall under that kind of good fun that was Jurassic World?
I mean, Jurassic Park has always been a rocky franchise, and not just in terms of quality, but in terms of tone. Like, I think each one of the movies has dealt with their own kind of subgenre individually. So at this point, I feel like that's the norm. I feel like to have this be a more, gritty horror suspense thriller, it would work. I don't think that would be a surprise, unwelcome or welcome, compared to Jurassic World, which was a lot more of just a straight action adventure movie.
I think I'm most excited for, as we talked about a little bit earlier, more character depth. I mean, it's a sore topic because I think if you start to look too deep into Jurassic World, you feel a little cheated or slighted that they're really just looking at caricatures, and the dinosaurs often have more care put into them than some
the
of the
humans do.
Yeah. Which,
well, they definitely, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, at least for me personally, I thought Claire and Owen were the best character takeaways from Jurassic World. Yeah. Those kids were boring, and I think 86ing them for this new movie was a smart move, because as thinly drafted as Claire and Owen were, and yeah, if we're being honest with ourselves, they were pretty thinly drafted. At least in this movie, it looks like they're taking those thin drafts and expanding on them, and that is key to any franchise.
Right. I'm really excited to see things become more personal for Owen and Claire. Like, I mean, this is a big spoiler, so in any case you haven't seen the trailer, please turn off this discussion, but we see Owen meet up with Blue, and then Blue gets shot right in front of him by one of the mercenaries. And from the other images we've seen, we see Owen raising a baby Blue. We saw him have a close relationship with Blue in the last movie. This is going to be personal for him, for what they're doing to his raptors. And for Claire, it's becoming, like I said earlier, it's a personal betrayal. And they've both been in a failed relationship, Owen and Claire, and they have to reunite for the sake of cleaning up their own mess. I'm really, really hoping that into this movie and into even through the third Jurassic World film, that we're gonna forget how potentially bland these characters were at first. Like, by the end, they will be iconic, not because of that raptor scene, but because they are three-dimensional characters that have depth and feel real. So we'll see you guys very soon with our Home Experience podcast. This is not a part of our official podcast. These are just offhand discussions that we might have depending on what kind of special news or products or videos that are released for some of the bigger properties that we see in filmmaking today. Anyways, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.